We've already discussed Tyler Perry's 2005 film Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
But the one thing we haven't talked about is The Diary of a Mad Black Woman, the play that ran for years before being released as a film.
And you guys have been asking for it.
So join us for a full breakdown of Diary of a Mad Black Woman, the play from 2002.
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia. So if you haven't seen this one, there will be spoilers. And we received a comment that was like, for one of the plays, so I'm assuming it's for all of them or some of them, that the ones on BET are different than the DVDs.
So maybe that means that the ones we are doing are from the DVD. And I don't know if they're different because we didn't check the ones on BET Plus out. So you guys let us know if you know, from the clips, if this seems different than the other ones. But that's interesting. But, you know, to me, it just seemed like they chose a night to record, you know,
right,
especially
and
from
they're
2002.
all different.
And even the quality of this play is not the same quality as the one from Why Did I Get Married, you know?
Oh, yeah, this is one of the early ones.
It's like you might have had it on VHS and you had tracking. But anyway, and you should also know that it is a musical. So just like the other plays, they're going to have, you know, musical selections in them. And y'all know that Heit hates a musical. And by the way, if you did miss the commentary on the Diary of a Mad Black Woman, the movie, the one that stars Kimberly Elise, we will link that in the description so that you can enjoy that too. But I think a lot of you guys saw that one. So what's going on in this play? As we discussed with the Why Did I Get Married play versus the films, different things happen. Some characters are there that are not there and so on. And full disclosure, I don't think I've ever seen The Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
You ain't seen any of the plays.
You're right. You know, because I went back in the past, I was like, did I ever see? I have a vague memory of knowing about the plays, and I don't think I've seen any of them, and I've said that in the past. So this is my first watch.
I don't remember them. Yeah, and you know, my mama told you that you know, they're better than the movies.
Yeah, that's what she said. Because I told her, I said, well, we're covering it. She said, well, you know, the plays are better than the movie. So I was like, okay.
That's how I saw them, because she had them.
Yeah. So yeah, keeping that in mind, please don't ruin the second part, because just so you guys know, heads up, you know how we cover stuff in fine detail. So, you know, the first half is, you know, going to be done in one film, in one video, and then we'll do the second half next week.
So it's like we're watching it for the first time. If y'all come to the comments and tell us what happened in the second half, then it ruins it for us in our initial reactions, basically, because I don't remember what happened.
Yeah. So, okay. So, but from what I understand, it's the same premise of Helen, the main character, being left by her lawyer husband after 18 years of marriage. So that's like pretty much what I do know matches between the movie and the play.
So which movie or play is the $25 an hour one?
What?
It's one where the dude kept saying, I make $25 an hour.
Y'all go to the comments, because we know you are the true experts. Oh, and by the way, because Medea was in the film for Diary of a Mad Black Woman, and she's also in the play. And we asked the question about Tyler Perry and how he came up with Medea and whatever. And, you know, we kind of speculated, because I feel like I had some memories, but a lot of you came to our rescue as we requested and mentioned to us that he had said many times in the past that it was his mother and his aunt that inspired the character Medea. So thank you for that. You know, we always look, it takes a village to do all of this. We can't have it all in our heads and in our minds. So I'm glad that you guys are you know, resident experts and can, you know, fill in the blanks for us. Also, the cast here. So we talked about Tyler Perry. He's playing both Medea and Daddy Charles in the play. Marva King is playing Helen, the main character. Curtis Blake is playing Charles, who is the husband, Helen's husband. Tamala Mann is in this one. She was also in the movie too. She's playing Myrtle. Ty London plays Willie. Tunja Robinson plays Brenda. And then Regina McCrary plays Angelo. And when I see that last name McCrary,
that's what I'm saying.
I
Is
think
that
about
old boy
Darius,
relative?
Yeah, Darius McCrary from Family Matters, right? What was his character's name? I don't forgot.
Eddie
Winslow. And so I think about him and I wonder if they're related. Maybe I can find out right quick.
It also says that Tyler Perry and Elvin Ross composed the music.
Yeah, So Tyler Perry was writing and doing all of this, and he said that what had inspired him to write, and this is in part of the extras from this film, from the film of this play, is that he was watching an episode of Oprah, and Oprah said, oh, maybe you need to get your feelings out on paper. It's good to write. And so he had been doing some writing, and his friend saw it and said, hey, this is a great play. And he said, play. So,
Oprah on her show, not
yes,
Oprah to him.
Oprah on her show, because this is before Oprah ever knew who he was, but he knew who Oprah was. So, yeah. Okay, so the answer at least the quick answer that we see that we can find is that Regina McCrary from this play is not related to Darius McCrary, but that last name seems like not that common, so you feel like maybe they were related, but not directly anyway. Let's get to the play.
Want us to cover your favorite movie ASAP? A one-time contribution of just $50 or more to Axiom Amnesia gets you a deep dive on demand, a 30-minute discussion on any film you choose.
It's easy. Step 1, send $50 via our website, axiom.app, where you can pay via card, Apple Pay, or you can pay directly via Cash App at $Axiom Amnesia. See the links below. Step 2, tell us your movie, email, the name you want to appear on screen, and what kind of deep dive you want. General, a specific character, a particular aspect of the film, etc. Step 3, watch your deep dive on demand with your name listed as executive producer.
Lock in your deep dive on demand today and hurry. Spots are limited.
This offer is not valid for filmmakers or distributors. Subject to availability and terms apply.
You take your medicine.
Yes, I did.
Good, you have to take it to stay in your right mind.
I'm in my right mind.
So in the beginning, when it opens up, we see Helen there, and there's an older man who turns out to be Daddy Charles, who is her husband's father. And so we get this banter and conversation back and forth between the two of them. And the father, Daddy Charles, is supposed to be kind of senile or whatever. So he's himself sometimes when his medicine isn't all the way right, and then he's not himself, And so he's talking about like saying these off the wall things, but yet they are true, because we kind of know what to anticipate. That Charles the daddy is talking about how Charles, her husband, doesn't love her, and all of that kind of stuff. And he's like, well, he don't love you. Oh, he love you, that kind of thing. And it seems like it's being said in this joking kind of manner, but very lighthearted, but yet it's true.
Because I love him.
Yeah, do he love you? That's the question.
Of course he does.
No, he don't.
Right. And then we're introduced to a third character, Brenda, who comes in, and she's Helen's friend. She also works at the law firm with Charles.
Well, where's Charles at? He's upstairs getting ready for work.
And so Daddy Charles is, what I'm saying? You already kind of know. So Daddy Charles is flirting with Brenda, and whatever. And then we find out that it is the 20th anniversary for Charles and Helen.
20-year anniversary. That is so exciting.
And okay, so in the movie, it was they had been married 18 years. So this says that they've been married 20 years. What's interesting to me is everything that describes the film says that they were married 18 years. So, but when I hear the actors say 20 years, I'm like, okay. I wonder why they chose 18.
What describes it? What do you mean?
The summaries, if you online or anything
play?
For the play, yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know if they
probably
just copied
got it from the movie
or
they
whatever.
didn't even see the play.
Yeah, so that was a little bit of a discrepancy, because even in our opening, we said, hey, they've been married 18 years. Well, apparently in the play, they've been married 20 years. I wonder why it was the 2-year difference. Like, what difference did it make? 20 years. 20 sounds more grand than 18. So why wouldn't you just have it be 20 in the movie? You started out with it 20, but maybe it'll become clear at some point. So anyway,
so Brenda is basically, she tells Helen that she's looking for a man with money and big feet,
So what are you gonna get married, Brenda?
As soon as I find me the right rich man with good credit and big feet.
Stuff like that. And then we find out that Charles, he used to play football and he was supposed to go pro and all this, and it didn't happen. And all the girls wanted Charles, including Brenda.
Yeah, he was real good at football too, and everybody wanted him.
Especially you.
I did not.
Girl, please.
Yeah.
And then we also find out from back then that Helen, was a virgin when she married Charles and whatever. And Charles's own daddy was like, and Charles was a hoe, so Charles has already clearly this reputation that he gets around and that he's a ladies' man and all of that, and always has been. Like, this is nothing new. And, we mentioned Brenda is also an attorney. And then she says that she's late for court. Because at first we really don't know, who Brenda is. Maybe we just assume she's just friends with Helen,
Yeah.
But they have a history. She's Helen's friend. This sounds very familiar. Sounds a lot like the whole "why did I get married" setup, right?
Yeah.
So in the play anyway, because that was a big deal too, right? Was in the play how Trina is friends with Sheila versus, well, she's friends with her both. I'll take that back. She's friends with her, but she had been friends, like lifelong friends. Everybody knew Trina in the play versus kind of she was just Sheila's friend in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tyler Perry is funny back in the day.
Yeah, he was kind of funny.
Maybe when you get old, because like he was still kind of young, and he put in a lot of these pop culture references, right? And current events, because he was talking about Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
And he, related it to the song Miss Jackson.
Sorry, Miss Jackson. Yeah.
By Outkast, right?
You think that woman called up and said, "I'm sorry, Miss Jackson"?
So, yeah. But he always had a whole bunch of pop culture references in the plays.
Yeah, I like that. And, maybe it's just that they don't age so well in film, and that's why you might not have it. Or also, if you're going around in the plays, like, we know what an icon Jesse Jackson is and was to the Black community, but definitely back in the day, Jesse Jackson was, mess with Jesse.
Yeah.
And for those of you who do not...
Jesse.
Yes. I am somebody, like, for those of you who really do not know the deal with Jesse Jackson in this reference being made here.
Lord, Jesse got a baby mama.
Basically, Jesse Jackson's this married man. Jesse Jackson Jr. is his son and whatnot, and he became a politician and everything. Jesse himself was a politician in addition to being, I think a pastor would be what it'd be called in their religion. And so he wound up basically getting a younger woman pregnant while he's been married for a long time.
So why was I reading this book about the assassination of MLK? Because it always comes up when you have Jesse Jackson, MLK, and then infidelity. Yeah. It was like, at the Lorraine Motel that there was some other room and somebody had sex in that room, right? And then the FBI, CIA, or somebody sent the video or something to Coretta. And she was like, "That's not Martin."
Oh my gosh. Listen.
Because of, they had COINTELPRO and they was trying to do all these things to basically just disrupt Black lives. Yeah.
And the
movement, of course.
Movement of, and the civil rights movement. So that's the reference that's being made there. And the thing that he plays with, which I think is kind of amazing comedic timing, right, is that this is a sensitive subject, sort of, because, we as a community, take him very seriously. Like, he ran for president, and
like back then,
times.
this was like almost 25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Infidelity and all that stuff. And sleeping around, promiscuity is not viewed the same way as it's viewed today.
It was like really a big deal.
Yeah. So like if you had a scandal like this, that could end your career in like public life.
Yes.
Because, you cheated or whatever, and then it's over for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, that's kind of, that's not what happened to Jesse Jackson, but so here he is playing with that, and because the way it comes up is at one point Helen says, I have a woman's intuition, because she point blank asks Charles's father whether Charles is sleeping with somebody at the office, because she has this women's intuition, and he's like, you think you got women's intuition? Did Jesse Jackson's wife have women's intuition?
You think Jesse Jackson's wife had that woman intuition that something going on?
What did she say? And did did the other woman say, "Sorry, Miss Jackson"? And that's how the song comes up, right? And in addition to that, it's kind of a like wild and sad situation, but I think some of these scandals have forced people to have an evolution of the way that they think about these things. Because what happened in the past is, I think human nature doesn't change. People are going to do what people do, and they were doing it in the 50s and the 60s during the civil rights movement and everything like that, and they do it now. But the difference is, back then they weren't covering it. So just like not only with MLK, with JFK, right? He was a philanderer. I mean, that's pretty much known. But the press and the people who knew he was, because they had a certain level of respect for his position, would not cover that. This is that, they're the tabloid type of idea, and it even spilling over into the more respected mainstream press was not a thing. Whereas now, oh my gosh, somebody got a baby mama, we got to get right on that. Like, they're into the salacious. So
right, and it wasn't even really a scandal until Clinton.
Well, no, it was
in politics itself.
In politics, it was a scandal before that, but Clinton was maybe as a president. But
no, well, I'm saying like in the times where they start pulling these things out when you're campaigning and stuff, to use it as fire against you.
When I was, I was in school, and Gary Hart was running for president, and Gary Hart, for whatever reason, decided he was going to come to our school and talk.
Oh,
and
nice.
It was right after his scandal where I forgot who he got caught up with, but he had an other woman scandal, and this was before Clinton, and whatever. And it ultimately is why why he
didn't get the nomination.
Didn't get the nomination, right? Because he had a scandal related to that. And somebody in the comments will tell us the fine details. I don't remember off the top of my head. But he came and he talked to us. And let me tell you, we were kids, and we remember when he was going to come. They got everybody in the auditorium. Gary Hart's coming to the school. They said, nobody, you will be suspended if you ask a question about this scandal. You better not ask about this woman. They told us that up front.
Yeah, so
but, and it was on a small scale.
If this is 88 versus 84, I don't know. I think this is closer to the Clintons. So maybe this was ramping it up. Or maybe they just realized at this point, hey, we can use this.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think they always would attempt to use it like behind threat of exposure. But
there's probably a whole book written
Clinton
about
was
this
like the biggest one
though.
I feel like we saw,
And then it was about the non-consensual part too of that.
Yeah, and then abuse of power. This is an intern, a young person, so like there was just all kind of dynamics. The lie up front, right? I did not have sexual relations with that woman, so and when you connect it to also, well, when you think about it in the Black community, and if you're too young, you might not know this, but at the time, people used to call Bill Clinton the first Black president.
Yeah.
Because he was soulful. He was, he didn't come from rich means and all of that. And he could play the saxophone, and he went on like Arsenio Hall. So he was considered like more cool than other presidents had been in the past. And because at that time, it didn't look like we'd ever have a Black president.
Yeah, nobody believed that we would have a Black president in our lifetime.
And little did we know that in 2008, someone would run and take office in 2009 and would be our first real Black president.
Yeah. But see, we were kind of right, because that just seemed like a glitch when that happened, because we see where we ended up, right? And it don't seem like we'll have another one. We'll see, though.
Nobody thought that the backlash from that would be so lashy. But anyway, okay. So that's what's going on. So we have the Jesse Jackson jokes or whatever. But Helen also makes reference to her mother, and she's like, well, it's a lot is going on. I'll figure it out myself. I'm gonna just get my mama to help me pray through it, and then we kind of get more church jokes because.
And I'm like, oh, is a song coming up?
So yeah. So and then after that, Daddy Charles leaves out the room, and that's the end.
They like to sing when they by themselves.
Well, So in the next scene, we see Charles up in their bedroom, and he is shirtless. But why are the church ladies in the audience screaming? They're like, "Woo!"
I know they love
him with no
that
shirt
guy
on.
with no shirt on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, let me stop complaining.
Baby, all that means is you need to spend more time with the Lord. That's all it means.
So then they switch back to the living room where, Helen is, and Helen's mother, who's played by Tamala Mann, has come over to the house. And Helen's telling her, basically how she isn't sleeping well. She's been tossing and turning and stuff like that. And her mother is basically pointing her to her faith in God, like you got to have faith. And, then she tells her, let me fix you some warm milk. And I was thinking, what does warm milk do? Why is that always like the old school remedy? Y'all go to the comments. Do y'all drink warm milk? Anyway, so we also find out in the course of the conversation that Helen's friend is having a baby.
Oh, that belongs to Sarah. You remember her. She's having a baby. One of my good friends I used to hang around.
And the friend is not married and whatever. And her mama is making reference to that fast tail girl, that kind of thing.
Girl, that fast tail girl you used to hang around with. When did she get married, Helen?
She's not.
And so Helen is sad because Helen doesn't have any children and she wants a baby. And the mother is like, in due time, God is going to bless you with a baby too. And I think this is a dynamic that people who are, probably all people, but people who are in church, especially, where it's like, hey, I've done all these right things in my life. I'm doing the prescription, right? I've done the things I'm supposed to do, and yet I'm not getting the outcome that I would expect for my life. And then not just with babies, right? Whether that's money, I do everything right. I treat people well. I do my best. And, I try to stay faithful. I go to church every Sunday. I, take care of other people, do all these things, right? And I'm still poor, or I still lack in whatever area it is that the person is hoping. And I think that it's interesting how faith is always brought into, like, just keep on hoping, keep on waiting is kind of usually the general message, and that in God's time, you'll have these things. And this is reinforced here.
But you probably want, it is a possibility that you want, right? Because if it's just on what God decides, you probably read about times where
the
God
answer
decides,
is no.
Nah.
Yeah, where the answer is no. And I think that it just is a tough kind of situation to be in, where you want a thing and you're believing that, but I think it's kind of that cliche too, like, of the best, your plans are not necessarily, God's plans, so to speak. And that's how people kind of explain it away. But for the people who might find themselves in a situation like this, that's pretty frustrating, because you could have done all the wrong things. When you look around, right? Sometimes you look around, it seems like the people who do everything that's wrong, they just get ahead. They get every break. The people who don't have any dedication to morality at all are the ones who look like they're winning. They the ones with big bags and flaunt things and in the faces of people who don't have money. And anytime somebody calls them into question, they say, but you poor, Like, think about what the culture is right now. And I don't mean just from religion versus non-religion. I'm just talking about just good old basic morality.
Yeah. So, like, if y'all don't know, I'm on Blue Sky. There was this post weeks ago where somebody was talking about, my haters and my enemies, whatever, they broke. Everybody else is just a victim of capitalism.
My gosh. But, that's like, So that's a very, and I think that this feeling is something that a lot of people have. And then specific to Helen, where she hasn't had a baby yet and all this, this is also very biblical. And I would assume that Tyler Perry is familiar with all of these types of stories. I mean, I'm assuming that he's read. And so all the stories of women who, had trouble conceiving and stuff, and, had to wait, and, think about Sarah had a baby in well advanced age and all of that. So you have these stories that
was the friend's name on here too.
That are having, that are paralleled, right? But there are multiple stories of women with this same thing, because I also think that the ability to have children and whatever is very much tied to womanhood. It's very much tied to,
your purpose.
Right? Your purpose. And if that's not happening for you and that's your desire, then that's like, that's a tough thing. In fact, I was reading some time ago where they equated for like women who have had trouble like with infertility, or maybe who, are going through that, to the psychological and emotional effects are like as if they have a terminal illness, the same as like cancer. And if you hear and listen to some women who are going through that at any given time talk about it, it will sound very similar. So that's, also an interesting thing too. And I think that it's something that's not that people don't pay enough attention to or aren't sensitive enough about, But the mother is also kind of judging Sarah, who is the friend who's having the baby out of wedlock, kind of like, this ain't how you supposed to do it or whatever. But Helen says, hey, I feel like my situation would be fixed if I just had a baby.
Trying to believe that. I just feel like if Charles and I had a baby right now, everything would be fine between us.
Which when I heard that, I was like, ooh, not the oldest trick in the book. That ain't gonna work. And I was glad that Tyler Perry had the mother tell her, like, no.
Well, that's why that line was even in there, right?
Yeah, well,
You get the situation straight first, then you think about having a baby.
Get your situation straight first, then have the baby, because the baby is not going to fix the situation. And I feel like that's something.
And then the crowd reacted, of course. Yeah.
And yeah. But so here's the weird thing, right? I don't think the baby will fix the situation. But for people who are stand-up people, and I've seen situations where a guy was just kind of going through their lives and whatever, and just living life, not like a bad guy or anything. But then when he wound up having, a baby and getting married, it became like a night and day, the focus, I got a baby to take care of, the seriousness. And I've seen it happen multiple times. So I think for people who are just stand-up people, that can be their immediate motivator to get things together, to pull it together, And I'm just kind of talking about the guy side of things. As far as how women view it, we should share, a story of a young lady who we know who's pregnant now. And we would see her all the time and at a store, because we would go in there regularly. And she was in high school working at this store. And then faithfully, like there all the time. And we'd be in there buying snacks. Y'all know we trying to not be buying snacks. But anyway, we'd be in there buying snacks. And so we'd see her all the time. And we talk to her, hey, eventually it's like, hey, what's your name? Da, da, da. And then you see him and you say, hey, right? And then she graduated eventually, because this is over a couple years, So then she graduated and she's like, yeah, and I'm going to go to law school and I'm going to do all these things. And of course she can do all of those things. And we were like, oh, that's wonderful to hear. And, then she was talking about where she was going to go to college. And it was like, oh, that's wonderful, And then the last time we went in the store, well, the previous time before we went in, because we just went in there yesterday, Heit says to me, he's like, does she have a baby bump? And
I did not say baby bump, y'all.
He did not say, but basically that was what he was asking. Like, is she pregnant? And I was like, I didn't even, because, I didn't get a full glimpse at her, and we were in different aisles at the time. And I was just like, I don't know. And then I didn't see her anymore that day. Then yesterday, you kind of felt like you confirmed it when you saw her yesterday. And then when we checked out, she checked us out, and, I was like, I could see, that she did. Because she's kind of a tiny girl, so, and she was carrying high, but I was like, okay, yeah, that's kind of what it is. And, it didn't change anything. It didn't change. There wasn't like this disappointment or something like that, because, we just know her casually, at the store. But I was just like, man, this changes things. Like, you just ratcheted the difficulty level of all your dreams up to maximum. You might have been on level 3, 4. Now you on level 10 of difficulty. But it doesn't mean that you can't achieve things. I've known many, many women who, had teen pregnancies and went on, didn't stop them, graduated on time. Matter of fact, graduated before me in high school, in college, so I don't think it has to stop anything, but I think it just made it harder. And a lot of times, especially when you're really young, you don't realize how much harder it made things in the moment. So there's that. That's our little anecdotal story of it. But next thing we know, Helen's mother is telling her, she's like, get everything straight and then you can have the baby. And how Martin Luther King's mother didn't know who she was carrying at the time. And then, of course, Tamela Mann has to give you a song. And some of the lyrics that kind of opens to is like, if God said it, you must believe it above all doubts and fears.
But if you have the faith, the size of a mustard seed.
And, it reminds me of all these other songs about belief and faith and when you believe, with Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. Y'all know that Whitney is my favorite, and then Heit tends to favor Mariah. But I like them both, but it's Whitney. Whitney and Mariah. It's Whitney and Mariah. So, that song, When You Believe, from the Prince of Egypt. And it also, I was kind of thinking, not in necessarily a melody, but maybe subject matter, made me think about the song, from The Wiz. Is it Believe in Yourself? The song that Lena Horne singing, If You Believe, I think is the official name. But, the lyrics in the song are Believe in Yourself. Now, if you know about The Wizard of Oz, on which The Wiz was based, it had been banned because it was saying to believe in yourself as opposed to believing in God, which I don't think that's really what the message is. It's saying to have, to believe in yourself. And church folks had a problem with that because they interpreted it basically as saying, only believe in yourself, which I don't think is what was, to me, like, do you understand the English language? That's not what the message was to me. But anyway, so here we have believe in yourself. You have it within you. But what about this idea that, especially from Christianity, and they talk about the Holy Spirit and all that you have this within you, believe in what's within you, that you can get through whatever it is. So all of these songs, I feel like, are intimately intertwined when it talks about belief in oneself, having faith, in God. All of this is interrelated to me. And it's interesting that people will find ways to split hairs on, well, no, and we got to ban this book because it's anti-God or whatever, when, so that's just the thought that I had. But Tamala, man, her voice is just amazing to me. It always has been. And I was thinking that she was like Tyler Perry's best, not kept secret, but best secret. She was really his secret sauce in the vocals. I haven't heard the other people sing. I'm assuming they can sing well too. But right away, I liked this song, and I feel like she's one of the people who helped to really, really make him famous. And of course, he helped to make her famous too. So it worked for both of them. But then Charles come downstairs and the mama leaves. And, just based on the movie, I already don't like Charles, right? So we know he's going to be full of some mess.
Good morning, Miss Lewis.
Well, good morning, son. How you doing?
As a matter of fact, I have no complaints. Thank
That's
you.
what I like to hear.
So Charles, comes down and he's there and she's trying to be a dutiful wife. Hey, you want breakfast? He don't want no breakfast.
Can I get you some breakfast?
No thanks.
And then Helen just gets cut to the chase and she tells Charles, I feel like I'm losing you. And he like, look, I ain't got time for this today. And whatever.
And Helen's like, let's just talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But Charles starts singing.
Well, and she's like, oh, you don't touch me anymore, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, it's not about sex. And, then she's like, well, is it about, not having a baby yet? And, he seems to really kind of blame her for that. But he like, it's more than about a baby. He's like, I'm not happy.
Helen, I'm not happy.
And he said, it don't matter what you do, you could never be ... And okay, obviously insert somebody's name here, right?
It don't matter what you do, you could never be.
And so he's like, well, you got 5 minutes only to talk about it. But then he busts into this song.
Didn't want to tell you, but we've grown apart.
And the song is talking about how their love has grown cold. And, it made me think about.
It got that amazing line, even though there are papers, there are no strings to my heart. There are not strings to my heart. I like that line.
And, and then I thought some of the lines was like cold blooded, like, you want to make love and I do too, but it's no fun with you.
Yeah,
like,
but I don't think he was as harsh as the movie Charles.
No, not yet.
Not
anyway,
yet,
we
right?
don't.
Yeah.
This is just, so these things are happening. Yeah.
Yeah, but then by the end of the song, he just totally gaslit her, right?
Mm-hmm.
This house is not a home. And I'm so tired of being all alone.
This house is not a home. I'm tired of being all alone, bruh. Okay, are we watching the same situation?
That's
but you know what? I
hilarious.
think that's how people who have decided to move on from whatever their circumstance, how they do the other person, right? They move on and then they start talking about how they're alone and they do, when in reality, they have abandoned the other person. in the situation. And maybe, I don't know why they seem like they can't see it, but that's exactly what's happening. He out here playing, having a good time with somebody else, and she's the one who's left, with nobody who cares about her. And but yeah, he had the nerve to say this house is not a home, and he's tired of being all alone. And then he hits this long note talking about let's be friends, bro.
Let's try and be friends.
Okay, it's good to be friends, as a couple, because that's a big component of the relationship. But you talking about let's just be friends? What are you talking? That's crazy.
He was talking about let's be lovers and friends, which reminds me of the song. Lil Jon, Usher, whoever else is on there, Ludacris, right? But I made a video years ago about that song, and there's controversy around that song about who actually came up with with it first, but it's based on a sample and all this. It's a bunch of drama with it.
You know what else this reminds me of? Just this whole dynamic here, and also like the "Why Did I Get Married" dynamic that was happening between Sheila and Mike is the song Superwoman, right?
Yeah.
You say now you say the juice is sour. It used to be so sweet. So like in the past, the juice was wonderful in the past. The juice ain't changed, but you changed. You the one who has, who has changed. And now all the attempts she's making, because just like in the movie, she was like, what can I do? How can I make this better or whatever? But he's done. So there's really nothing you could do when that person decided that they're done, except start trying to heal yourself from the damage that's been, and the hurt you feel, right? But he's like, bye-bye, Helen. And, he's singing like some extra runs. What do you think about his voice? What do you think about the singing?
It's cool.
Yeah,
I
think he was a competent singer. Definitely. He was singing them runs. And it was very much like 2002 to me. It felt like
but
that.
I wonder if he was basically just vamping at the end. If he was just ad-libbing.
He might have been.
Or if he does the same thing every night of the play.
I imagine that you probably switch it up at least a little
bit. Because when you start, this house ain't a home, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be alone. I'm like, come on, bro, you're getting off script.
But yeah. So, I think he had a very nice voice, a very nice R&B like voice, and it worked. The song itself to me though was media. Like I think a better song could have given even better.
In terms of what? Just the sound?
Yeah, like just the fundamentals of song writing, that part of it. But I was also going to bring up, maybe not the lyrics or the subject matter, but just kind of, maybe the melody, sound, some work on all that, right? But I was just reflecting back because you had pointed out earlier how Tyler Perry, all of these songs are original songs that he helped to write. And I'm assuming, I don't know, but I don't know that he does the piano, does the instrument side of things or is composing the music. So I would say at a minimum, he's probably writing the words and, doing that aspect of the composing. And I just think that it's pretty amazing, though, that he did the whole shebang, right?
Yeah,
he wrote the
set design and all.
Yeah, like, again, we gave him a hard time about writing and stuff like that because some of the stuff is kind of like, okay, come on, Tyler. But when you look at what he did with what he had, and you look at the fact that he hit the ball out of the park and people loved it, I think it's pretty amazing. And I just want to kind of give, props to that for what it is, He
already got my props because he got my money, so. I was just thinking about how he was trying to buy BET. And BET is basically just Tyler Perry Network, and he should just not renew the contract, and then because the price is going to tank after that because his content won't be there, and then you could buy it and put your content back on there. But
yeah, because at this point, all of this, like just seems
they
hard.
wouldn't sell to him, right? But they're running off of his content. That's crazy. That's a slap in the face.
And when you think about like. I feel in a way, this might be positive and negative at the same time, because, our community watches a whole lot of TV. We consume a lot of visual content in this way. And we are like, I feel like we single-handedly put Tubi on the map. We single-handedly kept certain franchises going.
We brought this up so many times, but that's the Fox model. That's what. That's how they built up Tubi, by putting black content on it.
And UPN and all those old, little networks
that was
popped
from the
up
Fox
too.
model.
Yeah.
Fox TV show did that, and there's a very good book about it. And then one day they just said, "Yeah, we're cutting this all," and then they became white network.
Yeah, because you use it, you make all the money off of us, and then you're not really giving us 100% what's needed, and then you cut us off.
Yeah,
and
then you make what you want to make.
And this is why we should be in charge. We should be in charge of our images, of what we do. And that's another way that I do definitely respect Tyler Perry, because he owns his stuff. He's got the studio. Who else got a studio? That's us.
I don't even know.
Nobody. So
that one girl, I think in Cash La Negra, I forgot her name. She's a YouTuber, I think. Just what we call content creator.
I remember. Yeah.
And she's from Alabama.
So she was doing it, and obviously on a
they
much
call her the
smaller
Tyler
scale.
Perry of YouTube or something like that.
Yeah, because she was doing skits and stuff like that too. So
and if you don't think of it as the same, Mr. Beast has his studio in South Carolina, one of them Carolinas. So it's not just nothing to sneeze about.
Yeah. So that's definitely something to think about. So we get this long song, this song.
Canegra Dion, I think is how you say her name.
Okay. And so Charles walks on out the door and he goes to, so it's unclear to me though, after he walked, are you leaving her? You saying bye-bye, but are you leaving her, or are you just gone to work? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, what is it?
We'll see if he comes back. She probably gonna be waiting for him when it's time for him to come back home, and he gonna show up with that lady.
Oh, we gonna see. For those of you who don't know, you should visit axiom.app, and you'll be able to look at all of the recent videos across all of our channels. And I'm putting that on the screen right now just so y'all can see it and see what it looks like. Because there are a ton of videos that are over there. And also, I think that there are at least about 100 exclusive videos that are available for our Patreon members and our YouTube members. So, if you're interested in more of our content, as I've seen many of you binge watching, be sure to check those things out. In the next scene, we see Daddy Charles with some of his old folk friends in the house in the living room, and they playing cards and smoking weed. And they make a lot of hip hop references too, like the Nelly song, "We Going Down, Down, Baby."
Country Grammar is Country Grammar.
Down, down, baby, your street in a rain, street sweeper, baby, not ready to go.
But yeah,
and then they had the Shaggy song, "It Wasn't Me." Yeah, but it's just straight comedy riffing for 10 minutes, maybe, at least.
And, so the same woman in the movie, well, not the same actress, but the same character, I think is supposed to be where at the cookout, she wants to smoke like with Joe.
Yeah, which
Joe
one is that? What's her name?
I don't remember her name I don't remember her name. She wants to smoke too, right? But of course, in the past, whenever she does, she hallucinates and stuff and was seeing rabbits. And that's kind of like what happened in the movie where, she was seeing rabbits at the cookout and whatever. And she freaked all out after she smoked. But she promised she wasn't going to freak out. And, apparently this is what happens each time. And then they have other jokes. They put a lot of Viagra jokes. I guess this was for the time, right? Viagra was more new back then, and later it was Cialis and whatever other man enhancement stuff came about. But yeah, so there were jokes about that too.
Yeah, but I hate her voice.
Well, what your darling law gonna say?
Talking voice or singing?
Yeah, the talking voice. But Tyler Perry said that he heard her just doing this voice, right? And then he was like, yeah, that's basically, that's the voice. Like, come on, no, that's so annoying.
And maybe that's why he liked it so much, right? And thought it would be funny. So then they sing this song, the Getting Old Blues, and, just basically about getting old. And it is a blues sounding song, which I really liked, was a switch up from that to, because he's done an R&B song, he's done a kind of a gospel sounding song, and now we get like just an old fashioned blues song. And
Go ahead now, say it, mama.
and they're all singing. And what I thought was funny was Tyler Perry at one point he's playing Daddy Joe. He's playing Daddy Charles. And he's like, oh, y'all thought I was about to sing, huh? You know, and he obviously didn't sing. And he's writing all this stuff, but he's not a singer. And he never sings in these plays. But I don't think he sings in the plays as far as I know. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. I haven't seen the rest of the plays. But does he sing? I don't think so. I've never seen Tyler Perry sing.
I don't know. I think he sung something and he sounded bad, but he didn't sing for long.
Like right now?
No, I think in one of the plays.
The most I've heard him sing is like he does here, which is kind of like he'll just do a one-line melody kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, he did it at toward the end of the song because he says, "I bet y'all thought I was gonna sing," and then she's continuing on singing a little bit as the song has wound down, and then he, you know, says a line to a melody, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But not like outright attempting to sing because it's always cloaked in this comedy. Whenever.
But wasn't he like in a choir or something at this church? Wasn't that in that documentary about him when he went to Atlanta and he started to do the plays?
He sure was. I don't know. Can Tyler Perry sing? Y'all tell us. So, yeah. So then there's comedy and Helen comes in and breaks it up because, you know, they've been smoking and playing cards and gambling and whatever in her living room. And she's like, you know, so they leave, the older characters leave and whatever. And Daddy Charles is just left there. And then Charles walks in, the son, with an attitude. And so it's the three of them there.
I'm a little high.
What's that?
Is we invisible?
So we got Charles in there and Daddy Charles is there after everything happens. And Charles has come into the house and he's all mad and angry or whatever. And the comedy is supposed to be that Daddy Charles is acting like he's, you know, high or whatever from what he had smoked and stuff. And I can't get over the fact that Daddy Charles, sometimes when he delivers his lines, sounds exactly like Medea. Like he delivers it exactly in a Medea voice, which is kind of funny. Because we had pointed that out in Medea's Destination Wedding, how was he doing it as Joe? Who was doing it? Like,
I don't even remember.
But something like that was happening in that movie, and we talked about it then too. So he also spends a lot of time quoting The Color Purple, and you brought up a point in the where we were talking about the movie about.
Yeah,
Tyler
so in
Perry
the commentary for this film, he talks about, for this DVD, he talks about how you're always going to find some Color Purple references in everything that he does, and this one is just full of it.
I think it would be fun to actually look for the Color Purple references because I don't know that I knew that until very recently. And now we go back, you know.
Without him saying it, we mentioned it a bunch of times when they show up, though.
Yeah, maybe so, but I just can't recall. Like I'm thinking about why did I get married to or something, like what are the scenarios? Like he's actually quoting lines from The Color Purple.
I sat in that jail out there about to rock today.
As opposed to parallel. So I guess his ode to The Color Purple became more subtle as, you know, time went on.
Remember that day I was in the store with Miss Millie?
And also you don't want to get sued.
It goes out of fashion too because The Color Purple through the 90s, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody had VCRs and was watching The Color Purple over and over. So yeah, that was one of the big things. And nowadays, I don't know if we're creating stuff like that. I guess memes and that sort of thing. Like, ain't nobody got time for that would be like a line that people would reuse. And for a while, the stuff from Dave Chappelle's show, right? But as time goes on, I don't think we really have those cultural moments like that.
Yeah, and you know, they did revive The Color Purple as a film, but as a musical this time. And, you know, a lot of people had seen The Color Purple on Broadway, and that was something else that happened. In fact, we did cover multiple videos on The Color Purple, the new Color Purple, and, you know, comparing it to the old one and whatnot. Yeah. And so we'll link that in the description also if you want to check it out and if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. So Daddy Charles was like, basically, I know what's going on because you should be better, though, because one time I didn't deliver a piece of mail. Right? Mm-hmm. And then he went into basically the other reasons why he was acting the way that Charles was acting, right? And then Charles is just like, well, I lost a $12 million client basically, and, you know, it ain't the same because I'm talking about $12 million, but Daddy Charles, like, just because you're talking about a whole lot of money don't mean it's more important.
Yeah.
Just because you talking about a whole lot of money don't mean what you talking about is more important than what I'm talking about.
Than what I'm talking about.
That's a message.
That's the message.
That is a message and a half, This whole thing is kicked off when Helen is going at Charles like, look, I went to your job and I waited for you all day at the office and you weren't there. Where were you?
They're all day for you. Where were you?
I said I don't feel like talking. Do you know what that means? Now what's wrong with you?
And then Charles was snapping on her. He told her to go to her room and stuff like that.
Now leave me alone. Go to your room or something.
So that's when Charles and Daddy start talking.
He said, go to your room or something, and she did, though.
Yeah, and ran up the stairs, and went to her room. So Daddy, like he said, he's like, what did that woman out on the streets do to make you mad?
Talking about that woman out there in them streets that made you mad. You come here hollering and screaming, acting like you crazy.
And he
lied about, it's something on the job, right? And then that's what Daddy Charles is like, no, it ain't something on the job because something on the job happened to me and I didn't react that way. It was basically I was cheating.
Yeah. So the father is wise beyond his years, even though he's bringing this comedy, to the table.
And they made a reference to a Denise LaSalle song. I think that's the actual reference. Your husband is cheating on us.
There was a woman that called your mama and say, honey, your husband is cheating on both of us.
I think what he said is mama said that your husband is cheating on both of us.
And he tries to tell his son, though, he's like, look, you got a good woman here in this house and you can't turn no trick into no treat, So I tried it, and of course more comedy, but he's trying to drop these gems.
Boy, I beat you like you one of them kids from House of Prayer.
So do you know about the House of Prayer beatings?
No.
Yeah, so some cult back in the day, I think they were black and they were beating the kids over there. So he made reference like, I'll beat you like House of Prayer.
Yeah, and I was like, what is that? Okay, clearly that is a reference I have missed. So yeah, I wasn't familiar with that. So then Charles is up in the room with Helen, and Helen is still trying to get some because she's talking about she ovulating.
Dr. Lisman says it's a good time for us to try because I'm ovulating.
Try what?
Okay, this was what is a little I know she's desperate. I know she's like, I just want my marriage to work. I know she's all this. But like, you're at odds with each other. You're angry with him. He's clearly angry with you. And now you're like, but still, I'm ovulating. Let's have this baby. Like, it's wild. And so he's like, I'm not having sex with you, Helen. Forget it, And
Helen, I'm not having sex with you. Forget it.
He makes this big deal. And
I don't know about the writing on this, right? Because it's supposed to be like their whole marriage is falling apart. But then you just basically, I guess, symbolize that in the sexual relations part. It's like,
I don't know, because it's a lot of dudes that would still sleep with their wife every night while they out in the streets with, these women. And it's a lot of women.
But that's supposed to be a clue
who
to
might have done
too.
it. Yeah, it's supposed to be, he stops wanting to do it with you, then yeah. I mean, and I think the same is true. I think some cheating spouses probably still do it, But anyway, so he says, what makes you think you can question me about anything I do? This is
What makes you think you can question me about anything that I do?
my house and da-da-da-da-da, and, I make the money, I'm the man,
Woman, this is my house. I paid the bills here. You need to know your place.
So he went there with his whole, red pill rant. And
so they should like this character too.
But no. And so I was surprised though. She talks back to him. She's like, well, I think you need to sleep on the sofa then. Yeah, that's where that's where your spot to sleep is tonight.
Your place is downstairs on the sofa tonight, buddy.
Because you ain't finna sleep in this bed with me talking like that. And then she's like, she say he would have only lasted 5 minutes anyway.
It would have only lasted 5 minutes anyway.
And so, now here's another dig. And then he tried to come back at her. He does come back at her. He's like, well, it's only 5 minutes with you.
That's where you're wrong. It's only 5 minutes with you.
Foolishness. So he should have made her go sleep on the couch. Right? Because we have this whole thing, go to your room. What makes you think you could question anything I do? And then she's like, but you sleeping on the couch.
And then he leaves, right?
Yeah,
right.
It should have been no, you go your ass on the couch.
I know.
And then she just scurried down the steps.
Yeah, I mean, because
if you go take it there, take it all the way there.
it's not all the way true to the character. And there's also a point, you know, when he gets loud and disrespectful with his father before this, right?
I'm not you listening to me. You ain't got.
And the comedy gets turned on when, you know, the daddy turns a little half gangster. And he's like, you know, who is you hollering at, player? You know, but because we also just see this flagrant disrespect of parents in here, you know, where like, what in the world? You talking crazy to your daddy like this?
Corporate Express?
Call for who?
Corporate Express.
We had another long comedy break.
Yes.
Well, it was kind of intertwined with some story.
So there was like a package delivery guy at the door, right? And Daddy Charles is there and he's ignoring him. The package delivery guy just walks on up in the house, like, and
Yep.
then
We have a Keep a Knockin' by Lil Richard reference. There's a lot of references going on.
especially in this break. I
No, you didn't just open that door.
was like, man, I can't keep up with them. But he's saying he needs Helen's signature on a package. And then the delivery guy is like, wow, when he sees Helen.
So I have. Wow.
The hell you mean wow? What is wow?
You know, obviously he thinks she's beautiful. This delivery guy is none other than Orlando, or from the movie Bad Braids. So,
Okay, Bad Braids. But why do I hear them mumbling? Because we're wearing headphones, right? So when you can hear them, like before she comes in, Helen comes in, you can hear them talking. Yeah. But why was the package COD?
I don't know. Cash on delivery, in case you guys have
Yeah,
never
that's
had
so
a
this
COD.
old
It's old
thing.
stuff. So you got to pay for the package when it arrives. So yeah, so the delivery guy is enamored with Helen and, you know, whatever. And then you get references from Daddy Charles of Jason from the Friday and 13th films where he makes the sound like Jason. He's like, yeah.
All right, really.
Then he makes a reference to Hannibal Lecter and actually quotes lines, you know, some famous lines from
but
the
you're not more
movies.
than one generation, basically, is what he said, from poor white trash.
Look at you. You're nothing more than poor white trash with your cheap handbag.
Which is, y'all let us, somebody go to our Deep Dive on Demand, our support page on the website, and we have that up there to be funded. So that we can do
Axiom.app, yes. We would
Silence
love to
of the
do
Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. And then he makes this statement. He's like, all black people know a crackhead and all black people have an uncle named Peaches.
All black people know a crackhead, and all black people got an uncle named Peaches.
Uncle Peaches?
Yeah, well, you know, I think
You
it's
think it's a
less
gay
important
joke?
about the name and more that, you know, you might have
Yeah.
an uncle who's LGBTQ. And so
Okay, yeah.
Daddy Charles talks about how his son, though, you know, basically his son ain't worth a damn, you know,
Yeah. He had no good something. He had no good old something. My son.
and then he's trying to actually fix up Orlando with
A
Helen.
man to take you to dinner or something. Call him up.
And
Yeah.
Helen's like, I love him. And then he starts in on the anime Bullock references.
And he loves me too.
And he love you too. I hear you, Anime Bullock.
And of course, if
Oh,
you know,
well,
you
before
know.
that, so you remember the Key and Peele Obama anger translator?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, because he's trying to hook him up and Orlando is coming all official. He's like, my number is on this thing.
Because you
know,
can't
and
just be on your job talking about, hey, let me get your number. And then you know she's married. So he's trying to be
Right.
slick about it.
Should you need any more local deliveries? Now, all my numbers on the package.
Player.
So he's
Yeah.
like, you know, hey, my number is on every side of the package or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
like this is how you can get in contact with me. So,
And then he had a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire reference.
and
Is
then
that your
Daddy
final
Charles
answer?
decides like he's just gonna translate, right?
Should you need any more local
Yo,
deliveries?
sweetheart, if you need anything like round the way, you know what I'm saying?
He's gonna just say what he really means when he's saying my number is here, you know. So that was kind of funny. I thought that was like one of the funnier parts of this scene. But then that's after that is when Helen is talking about how much she loves him, that, you know, he's like, oh, I hear you, Anime Bullock, right?
Yeah.
And so you know every reference that comes up when you hear Anime Bullock, obviously Tina Turner's born name, right?
And the references come from the movie.
Mhm.
What's Love got to do with it, really?
Mhm.
After that.
You know, and so then they're talking about different stuff and whatever. And then at this point, Daddy Charles is like, talking wild and flagrant with his sexual references. And then Helen's mother, Myrtle, comes in. This is Tamala Mann's character. And he's flirting with her, and he talking about she looked like a ham hock.
Highly favored. You look highly favored.
Well, thank you.
Look like a big old ham hock.
And whatever. Then he goes into this imitation of T.D. Jakes. And then the mother asks a more serious question. Hey, Helen, what happened to your eye? And she's like, oh, I bumped into a cabinet and whatever. And Daddy Charles just asked her straight out, like, look, did my son hit you? And she finally admitted that he did hit her. And then she's like, well, the mom is like, well, what'd you do or whatever? And she's like, I started praying. So Daddy Charles is asking, why is she staying with him if he's beating you?
Talk to him. What you don't want me to talk to him? Why is you staying with this man? He hitting you upside the head.
Like, what's going on? And he keeps calling her Anna Mae.
Anna Mae, why you don't want me to talk to him, Anna Mae?
And then references eating cake. And then she even responds, all right, I want to eat the cake. And I felt like this was a little bit too far for that. For
We're
me.
having that conversation again.
And then.
But that's the thing. So it's funny, but he's using it to address the issue of domestic violence.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it's bringing it up, but there's a thing where when is it too much, right? When is it too much? Because this is a real life person that we're talking about who really went through things versus if it was a fictional character in a movie like Hannibal Lecter that he referenced, right? And so I do think that there's a bit one or two references, but he just kept beating the dead horse with that. And I felt like that was a little more than what I thought was cool.
Yeah. So when you watch these, you realize what the actual big cultural moments, events, and stuff were. Like these were big references.
Yeah.
So if you weren't really around at the time or aware at the time, these were just permeated throughout the black culture.
Yeah.
So people would always reference, what's love got to do with it, Silence of the Lambs, Color Purple, all that stuff.
So what I think is interesting too is that the mother, she's just like, well, I'm gonna pray for you and I'm gonna go pick up something for that eye. Okay, it's just been revealed that your daughter is being, hit by her husband. And you're like, let me get you something to fix up your eye. You said you're gonna pray on it. You pray on it. I'm gonna pray on it. And then, it's just no intervention, just nothing. Let me just get you some bandages.
Even after watching What's Love Got to Do with It.
Yes. So, yeah.
Charles is going to be here any minute. Have to be ready for him.
So basically, we see the next scene. Helen is all dressed up in this sexy dress. And then Charles comes in and she's trying to talk to him. And he basically gives her the talk to the hand sign.
Bruh.
Right?
Honey.
Yes.
In her face. Just disrespectful.
What is the talk to the hand sign?
Where you put your palm of your hand directly in front of somebody's face.
So I think it was Tisha Campbell who was talking about all these things that became part of the culture from the Martin TV show. And she said that's one of them. And she didn't expect people to actually use it in real life because how disrespectful it is.
And they did, though. So then he sees what she's wearing. He's like, what are you wearing? And she's like, I'm wearing our anniversary surprise. And then, they're going back and forth and whatever because he's still just rejecting her. And he's like, it's your anniversary. There's nothing between us. You got your friends believing it's something there, but, we just going through the motions or whatever. And then he's talking about you'll be the only one getting pleasure if we do the do. And, you holding me back, sitting up in this house, spending my money and blah, 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 blah. Then the doorbell rings. And it's Brenda. Brenda is all dressed up too.
Brenda says she come to, wish her a happy anniversary.
Well, I just came by to wish you a happy anniversary.
Brenda, wait a minute. I need you to witness to something.
And then, they continue to argue and whatever. Brenda's standing there watching all of this. And he just busts out with these divorce papers. He's like, I want you to sign this.
I want a divorce. I mean, come on. I'll be more than generous. You can have the house.
You can have the house and $2,000 a month. And he's like, because, Brenda is also an attorney. He's like, I want you to witness this, Brenda, whatever.
Foolishness.
So witness the signature. And so she's like, what are you talking about? Much like in the movie, right? And then she says, hey, he says, well, you going to give me this divorce one way or the other or whatever. And then he, tells her, I married you and gave you everything you got. And then he says, we think that this is best.
We think that it's best.
And then he, of course, walks over and
But
puts his arm
They
around.
flubbed this one.
Helen, I'm sorry.
Brenda!
Why?
Because he walks over, the audience like, ooh, and then he doesn't go directly to it.
Yeah.
So it
yeah.
kind of takes
it makes
the
you wait a
sting
second.
out of it, and then
does.
he turns around. We already knew once you started walking in that direction that's what it was.
And so, he puts his arm around Brenda, the friend and other woman is Brenda. What we kind of always knew, right, from that we've been anticipating. And she's like, what kind of friend are you or whatever? And
Helen, you don't know how to treat this man. You know what, honey? Go handle your business.
this is almost just like a repeat of the scene in Why Did I Get Married, the play.
Except it wasn't a friend.
Yeah.
Oh, why did I get married? Okay,
yeah, it was the friend, so then Helen gets on her knees and begs, because Brenda's like, well, I'll wait for you in the car, baby, kind of thing, right? So she's not there, and it's just the two of them again. And so Helen gets on her knees and is begging this man not to leave her.
You did this to me.
What are you doing?
And even Charles is like, where is your dignity, Helen?
Where is your dignity, Helen? Get up.
No, because she is just, and so he says, all right, you want me to stay? You want me to stay? And she's like, yeah.
Stay.
Yes, I want you to stay.
And he's like, all right, then bark like a dog.
Then bark like a dog.
Now, we all know the Coming to America reference. And she actually
but then the anticipation of whether or not she would do it, and then she did it. And then she did it like a big dog.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, woo.
And then the crowd is laughing like it's Def Comedy Jam.
I knew you were from the bottom looking up, and I said, get off me.
Yeah.
Like they are just like,
But Tyler Perry said somewhere in the commentary of this that was all of this is the real audience's reactions to the things. It's really recorded, but they turned it down
because it was even louder.
Like what?
Because, like, think about it. This is, I mean, even though it's make believe, right? It still is like you're not in the moment enough that, like, it's funny to you. You're not thinking about what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So I don't know, But anyway, Charles
and
walks.
it was kind of like, the soap operas, right?
Yeah, it was. I was thinking that while it was on. It was very dramatic in that way, which stage
But then they
plays
throw in
can
the
be.
pianos and stuff in there like that.
But Charles walks out on her and she's crying on the floor. And
Oh, I'm sure you'll figure something out.
and of course, there will be a song. There was a song. And, she's basically singing about her woes and she's sad.
Yeah.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
And that is really how the first half of the play ends.
Yep.
And I don't know. What do you think so far?
I think it's kind of a lot of it was just being funny.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and making the audience laugh. But I guess that's one way to get them, right? So you spent a lot of time doing that, and then you get to the real salacious stuff, like how this part ends.
Yeah.
So you give the audience what they want, and that's really what people want in entertainment, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's you've paid your ticket price, and you want to be entertained from beginning to end.
But it's cheap to use so many of the references from other works, I think, right?
Well, and
because that's what us regular people do. People just go around and they just blurt out something from some work, and then everybody laugh.
But isn't it like there's a different level of like a higher bar? I think when you're actually writing something that there should be, that maybe there isn't, that's being respected here, because obviously a lot had to be done when you choose to go to a film from a play, when so many references in here you can't make in a movie. You just could not literally quote the lines, and unless I don't know the legalities of it, but you know what I'm saying. Like, they're just the infringement level.
Yeah,
you
so
get away with
there's
a lot
so
in the
many. Like,
play.
some of them you could be like fair use, and I mean it in the real sense, right? Of the sense of parody.
Yeah.
Right. But if it all depends on each case individually. So if you're doing like 5 works and you get sued 5 times, the likelihood that you're going to win all of them is probably not that high. right? But maybe if you put in one reference and then you'd be like, yeah, but it's just some parody we're doing of this and it's a comedy, right? Then you can kind of get away with that.
And the fact that, okay, at the time, who's paying attention? This is not like this is on Broadway. It has a niche audience who's coming to see these plays, who really enjoy it. And actually, I think that these references enhance the play. But you also have to acknowledge and understand that, like, this couldn't have gone on Broadway in this form.
Yeah, it's really capturing the zeitgeist, I guess.
Yeah.
Too. And it's kind of like, so I think it was the newest Bad Boys where, what's his name? Cambilame?
Mm-hmm.
The guy, the Italian black guy who just, I don't know how you explain it. He doesn't talk in his TikTok
in his videos.
He was probably the top followed TikToker, right? And he just shows up in the film. 20, 25 years, will anybody know? You know what I'm saying? Because after time, it's like when we watch older movies, we don't get all the references. Like they didn't say, hey, this is this guy. He just shows up and you're supposed to know, oh, that's him.
And I tell you guys this all the time because I like to reference a movie that is just great comedy to me. And I saw a whole bunch as a kid, and it's the original Airplane movie, which I think was maybe 70s somewhere or 1980. It was, but I was watching it in the 80s as a kid on reruns on HBO. And there's a scene where the mother from Leave It to Beaver is on there, and she is this older white lady who, where they talk about, I speak jive, right? So they're trying to understand what the black guys on the plane are saying. And she's like, oh, pardon me, I speak jive. Now, I always thought it was funny because this is this older white lady talking about she speaks jive, and we would just crack up. And it wasn't until one time when my dad was watching it with us that he said, oh, that's funny for that, but let me tell you why it's really funny, because that's the mother from Leave It to Beaver, which I knew Leave It to Beaver as a cultural reference even at that age. But, I'm like, oh, that's the mother from that show, because that it's like, a very white show.
Yeah, so if a younger person watch this play, they may laugh at some things, but they're not going to be like, eat the cake anime if they haven't seen it and familiar with it, to be like, haha, that's funny. But then they will be like, it's not funny because of what that was about.
And the fact that times change, because I know for a fact that I have laughed at a eat the cake anime. Maybe I even said it at some point in the past, like long past, right? Where you had the Def Comedy Jam era, or let's just say in the 90s or whatever, and in the early 2000s, where people just openly made fun of that, and it was funny in the moment. But like, I think as you get older, as you change, as the culture changes, like it was legit funny to me at that time, but it is not legit funny anymore. And, and I think the same is true of a lot of people. I wonder how Tyler Perry, like if he looks back at the references, how he feels about them today.
And then when you realize that, the younger people don't know certain things, like when he sings, when he talks about Jesse Jackson and he says, did she say, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson? Would they even get any of that? Right?
Yeah.
They'll be like, why do y'all think this is good?
Yeah. And let me just add, there's this little smidge where Tyler Perry is his character as Daddy Charles sings just like a little line. It's funny because I was just talking about him singing and I was like, but wait, maybe he can sing. I don't know. I really legit don't know. Some of y'all unfurl your deep knowledge of Tyler Perry and his musical gifts. Can he sing or not? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Anyway,
so even though like we're talking about old folks because we're old. We're talking about the younger people not getting it. There's plenty of references they have that we don't get.
Oh, yeah.
We never get it. We're like, oh, I don't know why y'all laughing at that, but it's not funny.
We are all products of our day and time. We are. It's just a fact, But I would say so far, I messaged, Heit's proprietary system that he made for us to be able to communicate, because we sit back to back in our office, so we're not facing each other. We can't mouth words while we record because our desks are back to back. And I said to you during this, I'm like, they could have left this whole part out of the play. This part meaning like, all of that comedy, because it just felt like it was going on too long. And I wanted to get to the meat of the story of what's happening as opposed to all of this comedy. And you said, well, they needed the comedy. And I thought about it after you said that, and I was like, I guess you're right.
Yeah, you need that. And it's kind of like how I explained it where they summed it up all together and stuff. So, yeah. But so it's basically, I made a, what is it called? I made a package, an NPM package that's AfroChat UI that you could find. And that's in NPM. And I made a Docker, there's a Docker
Okay, but we need it
repo.
in English, Heit.
I'm telling the people who know. I made a Docker repo where you can just basically run that and it'll give you a server and a client side. So it's just basically a chat room that we can stick in these different rooms, I guess, right?
Yeah, and these pages.
So we have a room for each video we're working on, right? And we have a script in there. It has a controller to control the stuff where you see and hear.
On
and
the
it got,
screen.
yeah, and it has timers and there's a chat so we can talk back and forth to each other.
Yeah, so we type to each other while it's recording because then that cuts down on the editing because if we say something, then, that's going to mean we got to edit it out. So this is a way to kind of make it a little bit more efficient.
But the chat itself is a library that I do have public.
All right. Yeah. But I love it. But I know somebody was like, well, how are you chatting? You said you were in the same place because, everybody is a super sleuth
Oh, yeah.
these days. So I'm like, let me explain. We have, the ability to chat while we record so that we don't have to verbally say these things. But my point is that I said that to you about, and I said, I guess that Tamela Mann and the rest of them had to rest because, you also have to think about that it's very grueling if you're the actor on stage and you're in every single scene and you don't get a break, right? For like 2 hours. That would be really hard.
Yeah.
That'd be almost like giving a full concert.
But Tyler Perry's basically in the whole thing. He don't sing though.
That's true.
So yeah.
Well, he got to be there to make sure it all goes right. Like, I think maybe this was like the control freak in him a little bit too. But just watching his younger self do this though, I am impressed, and I do find the younger Tyler Perry funnier.
Oh yeah, he was about 33 around. So early to mid 30s when this came out.
And maybe because he seemed cooler. Okay, because here's the thing. All of those references to those hip hop songs are probably songs he was listening to, right? At the time. But now he's probably not listening to the stuff the young people are listening to. So he's not going to really put those in as references into his movies to the same degree he did when he was younger.
Yeah.
So that also might make it feel a little bit more stuffy when he's playing some of these characters,
Yeah, he don't even know But
what'd you think of the music so far?
No.
I really only like Tamela Mann's song, which was the first song in the play.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that we don't have that same thing, like it's said over and over. We don't really have those same cultural moments. We don't have the same touch points and all of that because we're just behind our sliver of the algorithm, right? So we only present it to what we're presented with. So if you do something, everybody might not catch it. You just have to use the biggest things. And
everything, it felt like everything used to turn into a cultural moment because we all watched the same things because we didn't have on demand. Everybody was watching. I remember when Alex Haley's Queen came out, that's like the part of Roots. It's not part of the original Roots miniseries, but it's later on where he looks at his father's side of the family. And, Halle Berry played Queen. And there were quotes from there that we used to quote from Queen. There's this line where she bursts into this church because she's, been out on her own and she is this white passing ex-enslaved person and she needs help. She is hungry. She needs food. And she busts in that door and she's like, "As negra," And we used to quote that. And we were young. I mean, it was, it was in the 90s. But we used to, or was it 90s?
Yeah.
I don't know. When did that come in? But, it was the 90s. I feel like it was the 90s. But we used to quote that.
Yeah. But you know what we're going to do? We are when we get enough time to start cramming these other ones in, we're going to do Roots for at least the members.
Yes.
And we could go down the whole line of whatever.
Yeah, because there are just some cultural
and
touch points that need to be preserved and that we need to just, go on record with. And I don't think that enough of that is done. So we definitely
you know, people,
will.
I hate slave movies, so I would never watch you talk. You know, like, all right.
But for every person who says that, there's somebody who.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But it seems like it's just a common thing. So if we do 6 videos on it, then it's going to tank our channel, you know?
Yeah. So we can't do it that way, but we have to kind of have a way that we can put out the things that we think are important. What I was going to say is that for everybody who's like, I don't watch a slave movie, there's somebody who's like, I don't care. They said they laugh when we say, oh, do you guys want us to cover that? They said, you all could be covering a McDonald's commercial or something like that, and we would want to watch it. And I felt like that was such a nice thing to say. It really was, because those comments mean a lot when you understand, when people who get where you're going and get what you're saying and get it and understand it and feel you, get it, you know, that just makes a huge difference. And, you know, we're all made better by these interactions, because y'all tell us stuff all the time. And I'm like, okay, good, because we can't know everything about everything, you know, and we're all made better by these interactions, I think. So I'd love to cover that. But as far as this, you know, for the first half, I stand by, even though they needed the comedy, it could have been less comedy and more substance. Like maybe we have a scene showing me Deborah, because we all knew from the beginning. Was it Deborah? Yeah. We have a scene where Brenda is with him at the office, with Charles at the office, and we see their flirtations, right? You don't have to fully reveal it, but like I could imagine other scenes that we could have had, you know, that could fill up some of that comedy space. Because, you know, there's a point where it's just like, is this a comedy show? Is this, you know, what are we talking here? But all in all, I think it was decent, but it could have just been shorter. Yeah,
of course. Especially just cut the songs out too.
Well, yeah.
Think about it. So where the audience was after she barked like a dog, to interrupt to go into a song is kind of a big letdown.
But check this out. Somebody in the crowd actually barked while they were queuing up the music for the song. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
They were like, woof, you know, and so I thought that was kind of funny. But the other thing about live performances that I love, and even about seeing movies live, especially I used to love seeing movies, you know, in the hood, you know, with other Black folks responding to the movies the way we do.
Oh, yeah.
And talking to, like, that in and of itself
Oh, that's
is an
one thing y'all miss.
Yes.
Like, when those hood movies was coming out, you would probably go and find comedians referencing people shooting at the screens and stuff.
Yeah.
And how rowdy people was around these movies. Like this, it wasn't the same as just going to watch a movie and be like, yeah, that was a pretty nice film.
Or people
at the end
just
of it.
being, because we gonna talk in a movie. You might as well figure that.
Exactly.
That's
so
just
like
what happens.
When Charles had his shirt off and stuff in House Party 3, when that woman come out that cake, it's kind of like you get something probably a little more than what we've seen in here.
Hooting
but
and hollering.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these are the things that we sacrifice, I feel like, when we only stream, when everything's on demand, when you have the N of one of just you yourself looking at a screen and whatever you feel and react, because you feed off of it. And the experience of going to see these movies during the premiere is just amazing.
That's probably why we think some of them are better than they were, right?
I think you're right. I think that might be one of
it's
the reasons.
Experience. Everybody hyped up, and then you got that, I don't know what you call it, but this, I guess, synergy, this how we're all connected and we're experiencing this together. And then it just makes it better for you. And then we go home or 10 years later and we watch and we like, wait, this ain't even funny. That's why they put laugh tracks on the sitcoms back in the day too.
To make you feel part of it, laugh here. You know?
Yeah.
But but you know, it's weird because the movies have changed so much that most of the time in the little hamlet where we live, we go to the theater and sometimes the theater's completely empty. Sometimes there's like 5 people. I don't think there's ever been more than 10 people in the theater when we went to see it.
Yeah, even like with Sinners and stuff, which was a huge movie.
Yeah.
Nobody was in there when we were there.
I just think the day of the theater, I just keep my fingers crossed that the theater will stay open because I don't know how they're making it these days. I really don't. They must be taking some of that streaming money and then just putting it back on keeping physical theater locations open, but it's hard out there for them. I could tell you that now. So I'm like, you must just be making the money off the popcorn, because yeah. But But that is what's gone on in the first half of Diary of a Mad Black Woman. And we will be back next week, same time, same place for the second half and the conclusion of this play.
So if you made it this far, type $2,000 in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
And be sure to check out one of the videos that's on the screen right now, and also visit axiom.app, where you'll find all of our recent videos on all of our channels, because this isn't the only channel, right? And you'll be able to have links where you can watch them here on YouTube.